Welcome to your IELTS listening practice from Spinta.org. This is a mini-test designed to help you practice a specific section of the exam and improve your confidence. The recording will be played one time only, just like in the official test. Let's begin.
This morning we're focusing on a major transformation in the world of work, a phenomenon that has exploded in the last decade: the rise of the gig economy. The term refers to a labor market characterized by the prevalence of short-term contracts or freelance work, as opposed to permanent, salaried jobs. Think of food delivery riders, ride-sharing drivers, or freelance coders hired for a single project. Let's analyze this complex system from the perspective of its main stakeholders. For the workers themselves, the primary advantage is clear and heavily advertised by the platforms. It offers greater autonomy and a high degree of flexibility. You can, in theory, choose when and where you work, fitting it around study, family, or other commitments. However, this freedom comes at a significant price: a profound lack of job security and the absence of traditional employment benefits, like paid sick leave, holiday pay, or employer-sponsored health insurance. For the companies, particularly the large digital platforms at the heart of the gig economy, the model allows for much lower labor costs. They don't have to pay for many of the overheads associated with a permanent workforce. This also gives them the ability to scale their workforce up or down almost instantly to meet demand. The downside for them, though it's one they often manage through rating systems, can be a more variable and inconsistent quality of service, as the workforce is less formally trained and potentially less loyal than a permanent staff might be. Now, what about us, the consumers? We have largely benefited, at least on the surface. We enjoy greater convenience, more choice, and often lower prices for services that were once more expensive or less accessible. The ethical dilemma for us, however, is that this convenience is often built on the back of a low-paid and precarious workforce, whose members often earn less than minimum wage when all their costs are accounted for. On a macro level, for the wider economy, the gig model can certainly spur innovation, create new services, and drive efficiencies. But a significant concern among sociologists and economists is that it may also be a major factor in rising income inequality. It potentially creates a two-tier economy: a small number of highly paid platform owners and investors, and a large, growing number of low-wage gig workers with little power. Finally, this all presents a huge challenge for regulation. The model doesn't fit neatly into 20th-century labor laws, which were designed around the concept of a long-term employer-employee relationship. The biggest struggle for governments around the world is deciding how to classify these workers for tax purposes and, more importantly, for determining their rights and protections under the law. It's interesting to consider the name itself. The term gig is not new. It's a slang term that has been used for over a century by performers, particularly those in the world of music. Musicians would talk about getting a gig for a night, meaning a single performance or engagement. Its application to the broader economy is what's new, signifying the shift from stable careers to a series of short-term engagements. And while the technology that powers it is new, the concept of non-permanent work is, of course, not. People have been working as freelancers, temporary contractors, and day laborers for centuries. So it's more accurate to see the modern gig economy not as something entirely novel, but as a technologically supercharged extension of long-standing freelance work. The difference is that it is now coordinated at a massive scale by powerful algorithms and global corporations. A central point of legal and political conflict revolves around worker classification. The major platforms like Uber and Deliveroo have fought incredibly hard in courts around the world to classify their workers as, quote, independent contractors. This is a critical legal distinction. It allows them to avoid legal and financial obligations that apply to employees, such as paying minimum wage, offering holiday pay, and making Social Security contributions. Beyond wages, there are other significant social concerns. While some worry about a decline in service quality, a more profound issue that sociologists point to is the erosion of traditional community jobs. The local taxi company that once provided stable, long-term employment within a community, or the family-owned restaurant with its own delivery staff, finds it almost impossible to compete with the vast scale, marketing budgets, and venture capital backing of the global platforms. So what does the future hold? It's highly unlikely that the gig economy will disappear. However, its final shape is far from settled. While consumer choice and the pace of technology will certainly play a part, the long-term trajectory of the gig economy will ultimately be determined not in a Silicon Valley boardroom, but in courtrooms and parliaments. Its future will hinge on the outcome of legal and political debates over worker rights, corporate responsibility, and the very definition of a, quote, job in the 21st century.
You have now completed the practice test. When you are ready for a full exam experience, visit us at Spinta.org. There you will find complete mock tests for all 4 skills: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Our platform provides instant AI feedback for your speaking and writing tasks, along with an accurate prediction of your band score. Take control of your preparation at Spinta.org.